You're listening to WSTU Stewart.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
Well, a very pleasant good evening. Time for Startup Talk from Indian River State College with Mr. Tom Kindred.
Thank you, sir, and welcome to another segment and installment of Startup Talk, the show designed to assist and help Treasure and Research Coast residents who want to start, grow, or accelerate their business. As I always say, what a great place it is to own and operate a business along the beautiful Research and Treasure Coast. We will spend time during our hour together tonight to highlight and create awareness regarding the very powerful and robust business assistance and resource programs that exist right here in our community at our very own Indian River State College. I am Tom Kindred. I serve IRSC in the community as the Regional Director for the Florida SBDC at IRSC. Our show, as always, is underwritten by the Florida Small Business Development Center at Indian River State College and our friends at Express Printing of Port St. Lucie. So, Greg, how are you this evening?
Good. Building an ark in the backyard.
You are? Yeah, that's right. Well, you better keep building. This isn't supposed to stop for the weekend, but
glad we have the guests we do tonight.
That's right. Right. We they're very appropriate guests tonight. As you know, of course, speaking of our guest tonight, hurricane season, if you can believe this, is about a week away. A week from tomorrow, June 1st, and hurricane season starts on June the 1st. And I pulled a couple of articles regarding forecast for 2018. So forecasters are predicting a very active hurricane season. Conditions are ripe for an above-average number of hurricanes in 2018, only 1 year after one of the most devastating seasons on record. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Researchers at Colorado State University are predicting 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, with 3 of those being major hurricanes.
See, now my only question, especially with that prof at Colorado State, how many hurricanes have they had in Fort Collins?
Yeah, what do they know?
Come on, what do they know?
What do they know?
Yeah.
I'd rather hear from our buddies down at FIU or University of Miami.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yes.
So tonight, our show is going to be dedicated to hurricane preparedness, and we have got a studio full tonight. And as with every episode of Startup Talk, we have a team of experts in the studio tonight to discuss the issue of disaster preparedness. We'll start directly next to me. We've got our very own Patrice Koblitz from the Florida SBDC at IRSC. Welcome to the show, Patrice.
Thanks, Tom. I'm really excited about tonight's show.
Yes, it's going to be a good one. We've got the Director of Public Safety for St. Lucie County. We have Mr. Ron Parrish. Welcome to the show, Ron.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
And next to Ron, we've got the Emergency Operations Manager for St. Lucie County, Gustavo Velchez. Welcome to the show, Gustavo.
Thank you, Tom. Good to be here.
Yep. So we're going to talk about businesses getting prepared for hurricanes, which is a big issue. We're going to talk to our good friends Ron and Gustavo about general preparedness for the citizens of St. Lucie County. But let's just real quickly, I maybe want to recap just a little bit with you, Patrice. Talk a little bit about last year. The Florida SBDC at IRSC was as with all the centers last year, other than the centers in the Panhandle, very engaged in the disaster. Very engaged with the Florida emergency disaster bridge loan. Give us a quick, again, recap of what did we do in terms of businesses and the emergency bridge loan last year.
Well, Tom, last year, even though people didn't think that the Treasure Coast was hit that hard, we had a lot of damage and significant damage, economic damage to the businesses here. And we processed 52 Florida emergency bridge loans and were able to distribute $2.7 million to 36 businesses here.
Wow.
So it was pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, and again, it is, and I've made a couple of presentations, since Hurricane Irma, and I've added a little slide to my presentation where we talk about the Florida SBDC being the point organization for the Florida Emergency Bridge Loan. And again, that loan is really designed to provide quick access to capital for businesses that have experienced physical damage to their location, experienced economic damage. And again, I think there's a statistic that floats around out there that 40% of all businesses that close after a disaster never reopen. So that emergency bridge loan is really designed to help those businesses get back up and running quickly, after a disaster. So it was a very active year for the Florida SBDC, and a lot went on with the bridge loan. And again, a lot of folks, a lot of businesses were citrus businesses. So there was a secondary launch from the governor's office to support specifically the citrus industry. So a lot of I think 14 of those loans were citrus loans into the citrus industry. So again, it was a very active year, and I was just glad that our center played a role in helping folks post disaster after Irma. And then talk a little bit about, you were very engaged with the SBA. They set up a business recovery center at the Pruitt campus. Talk a little bit about how all that took place and the outcome of all that.
Well, so with the Business Recovery Center, we had not just businesses there, but we also had homeowners and residents coming in to get assistance. And that center operated from 8 in the morning until 6:30 every night, and on Monday through Saturday.
Right.
So they were very busy helping people try to navigate and manage that whole system of finding funding. And then quite a few of our bridge loan clients were able to then get the long-term loans through the SBA,
right,
which was tremendously helpful, because with the bridge loan, that was just quick, easy access, but they had to be paid back within a certain period of time.
180 days, I think the bridge
Right.
loan, right.
Mm-hmm.
Bridge loan was 180 days, and then they were able to convert that into the long-term, capital access loans from the SBA, again, their emergency disaster loans from the SBA. So anyway, it was a big year last year, and so again, the purpose kind of segues into tonight's episode and segment of Startup Talk, where I kind of wanted to bring the experts from St. Lucie County in and talk a little bit about what we do at the SBDC. So again, Patrice, just kind of touch on quickly, because a big, we have, and we always talk about the SBDC, and we talk about kind of within the ranks of the SBDC, we have specialists, we have government procurement specialists that help people with government contracting, we have export marketing and international trade specialists, we have folks that specialize in growth acceleration. But we also have a group that kind of specializes within the network of the SBDC, Florida Network. We have a group that kind of specializes in what we call business continuity. Talk a little just about that division of the SBDC and kind of what they're dedicated to doing, especially during times of like hurricane season.
So ultimately, Tom, with the business continuity, it's to teach businesses to create and prepare disaster response plan, right? So this is whether it's cybersecurity, a fire, a hurricane, a tornado, is that you have a plan in place to be able to manage this. So what I encourage our current clients is that you have to have a plan, an emergency disaster plan. Understand what you're going to do if there's a hurricane or if there's a flood, specifically now a hurricane. Where are your files? Are they on the cloud? Do you have them backed up on a hard drive? What are you doing? Are you in a flood zone? Are you able to lift your equipment off the ground? Right? What happens with your employees? Do they know how to get in touch with you if you're closed? Are you prepared to be closed for 3 or 4 days? Right? These are things you have to understand. Do you have your financials in order? Where are your insurance, right? What kind of insurance do you have?
Good point.
And, again, going back to the employees, if you have to close and you don't have cell phone, what is the plan? Right? People need to understand this. And if you're a sole owner operator, where are you going to do business out of? How do you get back online?
Right. And again, I remember I was in business back in 2004 when we had the Francis and Jean events, and absolutely, we had to plan ahead. We had to make sure we had cash on hand to make payroll because, of course, we were without power. We had a generator backup for the store because, of course, we were in the equipment business. One of the things that we sold a lot of during those hurricane events were chainsaws. So we had to be prepared to at least get the doors open and be able to service our customers with those kinds of products. So you're right. And back in those days, I kind of shot it from the hip because I didn't know about the SBDC and didn't understand really getting ready with a plan. Talk about one of the things that SBDC kind of highlights in their business continuity is this whole concept of the records to go box. Talk a little bit about that.
Right, again, so records to go box is make sure you have your important papers on hand. You know where they're at, right? And again, we operate a lot on the cloud. Most of our things can be uploaded onto the cloud. You could take your insurance and upload it and email it to yourself, right? So understand which papers or where your records to go box is, and whether it's just all on a hard drive or up on the cloud or it's sent to your email, is to make sure you know where it is, you have easy access, you can get your hands on it. Because should you lose your building or something happens, you need to call your insurance company immediately. Especially with last year, the insurance companies were hammered, so to speak, with all of the storms. So understand and make sure you know who your contact is, how you're going to get it, how are you going to assess your loss after it happens, right? So you want to have this plan in place. It's so important to plan ahead. They say, what is it, a pound of... What is it? I can't even remember the saying, but anyway, just make sure you have your plan. You don't want to be caught blindsided in this situation.
When you were talking about that last year, Carol and I went out and got some waterproof boxes that we could utilize for some of our, especially here, our FCC documentation, which obviously the FCC's got copies of it, but, just for our stuff. And insurance as well, yeah.
So in terms of business, folks can go to the FloridaSBDC.org site, and there is a business continuity tab right there on that page, and they can click on business continuity. Got all kinds of information, got multitude of links, all kinds of links to the SBA, links to information about planning and getting your business ready. So I would encourage any business, you can certainly contact us locally. You can get to us at the IRSCbiz.com site. But you can go to that FloridaSBDC.org site and click on that business continuation, business continuity icon there, and there's all kinds of information about how to get yourself ready in terms of your business. So let's talk about St. Lucie County and all that it does to get the county ready. And for that, we've got our good friend Mr. Ron Parrish. Welcome again to the show, Ron.
Hey, Tom. Glad to be here.
Yeah, now let's start with you, Ron. Just give us a little bit of a background on you, kind of your pathway to the Public Safety Department. I know you've got a big history here with St. Lucie County. Talk a little bit about where you've been.
I was fortunate to come aboard the St. Lucie County Fire District in 1985, and so started a little earlier than that, actually down south in Hollywood, a little small department in fire rescue. And then, like I said, in 1985, we moved up here, the family and I, and started as a firefighter paramedic.
Nice.
And I spent the next 30 years with the fire district, retired in 2015 as the fire chief, and had some great opportunities from being a company officer to chief officer to, again, finally the fire chief. And what an experience. And talking about storms, the 04-05 storms,
Right.
I spent out at Rock Road, and compared to what we have today,
Right.
and what that emergency operations center was like then, and how crowded it was, and the challenges we had with water and power, and it was just what we have today is so much different and so much better. And so anyhow, in 2015, I retired as the fire chief, and for about a week. And then, yes,
You retired for a whole week, Ron.
A
That's
whole
nice.
week,
Yeah.
September.
So did you get bored or what?
September.
Catching fish.
No. So September of 2015, and then went back to work. I was September 2nd, and on September the 9th, I was back in the saddle with the Department of Public Safety here in St. Lucie County. I've been there ever since. Of course, we hadn't had any storms
Right.
since 04, 05, and then I come aboard, and we got Sandy was right at early on, and then of course Matthew and Irma, and we haven't stopped since. And I say to people, it's really not the storms. The storms are, I hate to say easy to handle, but it's the storms after the storms, and you're talking about the challenges that the community faces and the businesses faces and the citizens face. And so that recovery effort is really, it's a storm. And so anyhow, I also brought with me, Tom, I don't know if you want to.
No, that's absolutely.
And let Gustavo tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
it.
go ahead, Gustavo. Give us a
my
little bit of your
story.
background and how you got to public safety.
Yeah, sure. Well, I started actually with a bachelor's in music therapy from University of Miami. And so I conducted therapeutic services, and then I moved into social services, and I got a little antsy a few years, and I said, well, if I deal with family crises, I think I can deal with bigger crises. And so I went on to obtain an MBA from Florida Atlantic University in crisis and emergency management. And guess what? I finished that degree around 2004 and 2005. And, guess what? Back then I was working. Exactly right. And guess what? Back then I was working for Broward County Human Services. And they say, hey, you got this degree. Why don't you work at the Emergency Operations Center? I said, sure, why not? I need the experience. And boy, did I get a lot of experience there. So I worked for the Broward Emergency Operations Center as an emergency manager. And I worked there for about 4 years, and I conducted a lot of volunteer services. We call it Emergency Support Function 15, volunteers and donations. I liaised with the municipalities over there, and I conducted continuity of operations, COOP, we call it, and COG, continuity of government. And I did lots of different tasks there. And so after working with the Broward Emergency Operations Center, I found a job at the Palm Beach Emergency Operations Center. And in there, I conducted lots more about training and exercises. And we worked on this wonderful little program called Web EOC. That's for emergency managers and for the community, our stakeholders, that is. And so then after being there for about 4 years, I found this job here with St. Lucie County. Director Parrish hired me, and he said, Gustavo, you have lots of responsibility, and you'll be on call 24/7. I said, not a big deal for me. I've been doing this for a long time.
See, Tom, as the Florida scorecard says, folks are moving up from Miami.
That's right.
Yeah.
Perfect example. He's sitting here.
Right.
Actually, I was born and raised in Miami.
Well, that's two.
But I've been here longer than I've been anywhere else. So.
It's wonderful to live in this community. St. Lucie County is great.
So tell us, Ron, just a little bit about the Public Safety Department of St. Lucie County. I mean, what service does your group provide, and kind of what goes on in that division?
So the Department of Public Safety actually is pretty diverse, and it's sometimes challenging to pull that all together. I like to run down one of our hallways, and I'll start with our Division of Animal Safety Services and Protection, which last year was animal control, and so we sort of changed that around, and we're looking at a new dynamic, a new concept in services and protection. So, and then I have Marine Safety, which is our ocean rescue lifeguards, and today we're protecting 3 beaches, 2 of them 24/7, 365, and then our South Beach we do the weekends, and then our radiological division, which is our planning and preparedness for the nuclear power plant, and it's really a comprehensive system to have that power plant sitting on our coast, and the things that we go to, the training, the exercises, the relationships between the Florida or Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Florida Division of Emergency Management and the power plant, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. So all of this comes together because the regulations there are really
Sure.
strict. And then of course we have emergency management. So we do a lot of disaster planning preparation. I'll let Gustavo talk about that a little bit. And then the 911 center, and we're taking on about 450,000 calls a year
Wow.
that come into the center. And so our side predominantly does the law enforcement. So 911 call comes in, law enforcement, rescue or fire, and if it's rescue or fire, we'll transfer it over to the fire department where they manage those calls, and then we handle all the law enforcement agencies. So pretty busy.
That's, I mean, really is. I don't think a lot of people know there's that many divisions under public safety. I mean, that's a pretty diverse
and then
group.
all of the ancillary things. We have the EMS council, and we're dealing with public assistance and individual assistance and project worksheets, and that gets very comprehensive in regards to trying to get those dollars back into the county that the county's expensed from road and bridges to beach erosion to our mosquito control, and these are huge financial impacts to the county. And so to build those project worksheets and send them through the process, very, very comprehensive. And again, those are the ancillary things we do. We don't stop.
Right.
We are very busy, and we have about 85 total personnel, and predominance is in the 911 center, and the rest are administrative staff. I think Gustavo has 3 in emergency management.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
And the RAD division has actually 2. Animal safety has 5. I'm short right now, and then marine safety has. We have 7 full-time and 3 part-time positions there.
Okay.
And then there's, of course, the administrative staff.
So, Gustavo, tell us a little bit about emergency management. What is this division responsible for providing to the county?
Well, it's a misconception that a lot of people think that emergency managers do nothing during non-hurricane season. In fact, if anything, it's quite the opposite. We are very, very busy conducting a lot of preparedness actions, and what we call specifically, we plan with all of our different stakeholders. Then we train our stakeholders on the plans that we created, otherwise a plan is useless. Mm-hmm. So after we do the training, then we conduct an exercise to see if that plan definitely works. And so based on that, we go back in a circular fashion of conducting an after action report, an improvement plan, and we go back again to the planning cycle. And so we're heavily involved in planning, training, and exercise in all the different types of programs that come along in emergency management. And so in emergency management, we typically describe the industry like in 4 phases. We say preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation. And so we do that PTE stuff, planning, training, and exercise, in all the different phases that we go through in getting our community ready and to respond and to recover appropriately, and then try to get those FEMA dollars back after we go through these type of disasters. To give you an example of the different type of programs that we manage in emergency management, one of them is alert notifications. So we have this wonderful product called Alert St. Lucie. It is powered by Everbridge, and so we utilize Alert St. Lucie, and we ask our stakeholders and our community to sign up to receive Alert St. Lucie messages. And so from the Public Safety Department, we send out messages to tell the community to be on the lookout for certain things. Like, for example, with this...
Is that a phone product
Is it
or
an app?
what?
Is it like a phone app?
It is an app, and you all get them from actually the National Weather Service will send
Oh, sure.
out.
Yeah.
And then you get the amber alerts and the silver alerts. Right. Those are what they call, and it's part of another alerting system that is Everbridge, and it's called IPOGs, and I forget the acronym, but you can control it, but you can't control it. It's automatically built into your phone. So like I said, with Amber Alerts, everybody gets Amber Alerts unless they go in and actually take that alert off of their phone system. So with ours, Alert St. Lucie, yes, it's an app. You go in, you sign up. I want to be notified if we're going to get lightning storms or windstorms, or there's a brush fire, and so it's an automated system that will send out this message to you that says, please be aware. There's a brush fire here. Try to avoid that area. Or with the water rising, stay off the roads because you're better off staying at home. Messages like that. But it's important for people to sign up for that because last year during the storm, you will get information that will keep you safe and it'll protect you.
And of course, the federal government has the our blue box back there, the EAS box, and those automatically come through on all of our stations. So
Yes.
How does one sign up for the app?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Gustavo handle that one.
Okay. Well, our residents can go to our website to sign up, and that is www.stlucieco, all together, and that's spelled STLUCIECO.gov/alert.
Okay.
So I'll just say it quickly, www.stlucieco.gov/alert.
All right, now Gustavo, again, we talked as we open the show tonight. Here comes June 1st. Here comes hurricane season. Talk about what residents should be doing now to prepare. Your website talks about the plan, and we talked earlier with Patrice about the businesses having a plan. So what's involved in that plan for a citizen in St. Lucie County?
And so we have a disaster preparedness brochure and that explains all the different information on how families and residents can have a family preparedness plan. And so that's what we talk about. So we're talking about business plans, right? Well, for the residents, we talk about family preparedness plans. And so we call this in emergency management blue skies, right? There's not much emergencies going on. I know we're getting some rain, but this is the perfect time right now to build that family preparedness plan. And in that family preparedness plan, for example, one of the things to keep in mind is that if you have a family member or friend who needs special care or special needs, they can go to the special needs registry, and this is the perfect time right now to register. What we offer during emergencies is we open up a special needs shelter, and in that special needs shelter, everyone who has signed up beforehand, we already know the information, we know what care they need, and so with our partners from the Department of Health, they're there to then assist and take in residents. Part of the plan also is if you have pets, of course, we understand that families are not willing to leave the area and leave their pets behind. So we also offer a pet-friendly shelter, and this is the time right now to register for the pet-friendly shelter. And so in our family preparedness plan, we always advise everyone that this is the perfect time to talk with your friends and family about finding a space to stay and weather the storm. If you are unable to stay at your place, if your place is prone to floods, then we recommend that you do not stay there, that you talk to your friends and family. And then if you are not able to find a place with friends and family, then you can certainly come into one of our general population shelters. And so that's part of the family preparedness plan. It's just a simple matter of just jotting it down, make sure that you have the information to call for the county and find out when these shelters open up or when we open up these shelters. Another thing to make sure we do right now is remove the debris from your backyard. Right now is the perfect time to trim the trees, to make sure you clean up the areas. If you have anything heavy, it's better to start cleaning it up right now. Don't wait till the last minute, and don't wait till we get those hurricane warnings. Oh, no, no. It's the worst time to do that. Now is the perfect time. You can register for the pet-friendly shelter by calling our Public Safety Department line, which is 772-462-8100. And then one last thing in your family preparedness plan is stay tuned to local news and weather. A lot of people forget to do that. And as you mentioned with communications for businesses, families should also include in their family preparedness plan how they should communicate if the cell phones are not working.
Right.
So,
all right, with that, we're going to take a quick break. We've been talking to Mr. Ron Parrish, Gustavo Valdez, and our very own Patrice Kublitz about disaster preparedness, hurricane preparedness, hurricane season right around the corner. So we will return with more conversation about that. So stay with us. This is Startup Talk from Indian River State College.
You're listening to WSTU Stewart.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
And we are back. For those just joining us, this is Startup Talk from the Dan K. Richardson Entrepreneurship Development Institute at Indian River State College. I am Tom Kindred, and we have tonight a studio full of experts here to talk to us about getting ready for the 2018 hurricane season and disaster preparedness. We've got in the studio with us tonight our very own Patrice Koblitz from the Florida SBDC at Indian River State College. Welcome to the show, Patrice.
Hey, Tom. Thanks for having me.
And we have got our Director of Public Safety, Mr. Ron Parrish. Welcome to the show, Ron.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
And we've also got Gustavo Valchez with Public Safety, the Emergency Management Operation at St. Lucie County. Welcome to the show, Gustavo.
Thank you, Tom. Good to be here.
Now, when we took our break, Gustavo, you were talking about the family developing the plan, just as Patrice talked earlier about the business developing the plan. Do you have any advice? Is there anything different in that family plan that you would recommend for a business? Do you have some advice for businesses and what they should be doing now to get ready?
Well, so Patrice mentioned a business continuity plan. We definitely recommend every business to conduct or develop a plan of action. And so we call it COOP, in my circles, continuity of operations. And basically with that plan is, in addition to what Patrice mentioned, is make sure you have a way to account for employees, because this business continuity plans can definitely become necessary during what we call blue skies. It doesn't only have to be practiced during disasters. Mm-hmm. So, you can have the sprinkler system go off and your equipment can get ruined. Imagine that. So, you can have a fire in a business. And so I would recommend always make sure that employees understand how they will be able to communicate or have a relocation point so that, if you aren't unable to communicate, you can meet somewhere and then go on to the next step in your continuity plan.
Now, when I mentioned that statistic about the 40% of businesses that close after a disaster never reopen, mm-hmm. you were kind of shaking your head. So,
absolutely.
I mean, have you in your profession have you come across those kinds of situations where you've seen businesses close and just never reopen through your years in emergency management?
Yes, I have seen that, and especially small businesses. A lot of people forget that small businesses need to have a business continuity plan. They cannot just rely on public services. And so the more you have something ready and something that spells out what to do, especially for employees, and how to communicate, and then how to save the vital records, how to have a safety action for your employees, have insurance information ready. It definitely helps out and spells it out in that moment of need. Right. So rather than thinking over, you can just follow the plan and follow the guides. I also recommend train the employees and exercise your plan. Otherwise, what do we have a plan for?
Right. And you, what resources are available from your division to assist folks in developing this plan? I know you've given me a great, beautiful report here, and you said this is available. Now, is this is available on your website?
That is correct. The Disaster Preparedness Guide is available in our website. And so what you can do is go on to our site, which is www.stlucieco.gov, and all you have to do is find the Public Safety Department, and from there, not only will you find the Disaster Preparedness Guide, but then in the site it'll show you where are the evacuation zones, where we have the hurricane shelters, more information about the 911 center. You can find information about animal safety and how to register and what's needed to register for the pet-friendly shelter. Also, you can find information about the local mitigation strategy. A lot of folks don't know what that program is about. And so basically, we have a lot of our business partners and stakeholders, both from state and regional offices that come over, and we present projects on how to mitigate our offices, our buildings, our infrastructure against major disasters, and that's what we talk about in the LMS, or the local mitigation strategy. We offer information about road closures. You can also sign up for the special needs registry. That's for the special needs shelter, and of course, I did mention Alert St. Lucie.
Is Fenn Center still the only
Yes, the
special?
Fence. I was just going to say
That's
that.
the only
Yes,
one?
Correct.
The Fence Center is our special needs shelter.
Okay.
So, Gustavo, talk about the network of shelters available throughout St. Lucie County. Kind of touch on that.
So there are 13 shelters available for the county. This year, we of course we're partnering with the school board, and we decided to have a new coordination process that instead of trying to open up all the shelters all at once, we decided to have 7 primary shelters to open up. The capacity in these shelters has increased as well, so it's not like a lot of people think it might be 500. This year we have doubled that capacity in those shelters.
So now
Yep.
with the 7 shelters, we'll be able to bring in a population of somewhere around 8,500 citizens. Now,
Wow.
if it really goes south, we can open up additional schools, and Westwood High is our pet-friendly shelter. So if you're bringing your pet, that is the only location to be able to bring your pet to. So Westwood High School is
It's a
a
center for
pet-friendly shelter.
veterinary medicine in the
Right.
county,
Yes,
too. Yeah,
yes.
that's great. Perfect.
Gustavo, how would a resident find out if they live in an evacuation zone? How do they determine that?
So I mentioned our website, and so that'll be the first place I would recommend our residents to go to. And again, that's www.stlucieco.gov. Just find the Public Safety Department. And from there, there's a link there that once you click and you put your address, you can see if you are in an evacuation zone and in a flood zone. So, and also in our shelter map, which is also serves as an evacuation routes and where are the flood areas.
And Brian, let me ask you a question too. Kind of one of those things I've always been curious about. If you live in an evacuation zone, is it a mandatory evacuation? Do you have to leave, or is there just once you don't leave, you're on your own kind of thing? How does all that work?
Yeah, what I normally tell people that when they should evacuate, if they're not going to evacuate, to get an indelible ink and put it on their arm so we can at least identify them. No.
That's true.
But no, you do not. You are not required to evacuate. But when we do ask you to evacuate, we're doing it for a reason, and that's to protect you. You know, it's not just about the storm coming in; it's about getting access to you following the storm,
Right.
because we may not have access to the barrier islands. We may lose bridges, and so it's important that you come to a place to where you have access to emergency services, and so, but you are not. You are not required to evacuate.
How much more pressure is there on you guys because we do have a nuclear plant here compared to other counties?
So, the nuclear power plant and the measures they take when a storm is coming is you just can't imagine all that they go through in that preparation. And I mean, up to and including the shutting down of the plants. But they have to take them down in a very methodical way, and then they have to bring them up in a very methodical way. And so, and they have instrumentation, they have equipment, they can measure things that are it's just phenomenal. And so we exercise annually about a storm event or a nuclear power plant event. And so we were just talking about evacuation routes and the alerting system that is the siren system. And, every so often you'll hear us announce that we're going to sound.
Sure.
And they are tested, not only tested literally by sounding them, but they can go and test the sirens without them ever making a sound. And that happens quite frequently. And so just the structure and the plan and the preparation for the nuclear power plant is very comprehensive. I feel very good about it. additional pressure for an emergency management system for public safety outside of, in the other counties, they don't have that. So Martin and St. Lucie are the risk counties for the nuclear power plant. And then there are host counties in case there is an evacuation that the population would go to. We train and exercise very frequently to be able to manage that.
Gustavo, what services does your division provide after the hurricane has cleared the county?
Well, there are different types and many services that we provide after a hurricane leaves the area. The first one is we provide press conferences at 8 o'clock, at 12 noon, and at 5 p.m. During Hurricane Irma, we provided these press conferences where we tell our residents what evacuation routes are open, what shelters are open, what's the status of flooded areas. So those are a few examples. The press conferences are then streamed through the web, through the St. Lucie County website. Also, we have our public information line that's open, so the public can call in, and this only happens when we activate the Emergency Operations Center and the shelters are activated, and that line is 772-460-4357 or help, and so that's a good way that our residents can call in. We continuously provide information through our website as well of everything that I just mentioned, and then. A lot of people don't know this, but we coordinate intensively with the state and with FEMA to make sure that if our county is declared as a presidential disaster declaration, then FEMA opens up a whole array of services, and so does the state. But like we say in emergency management, all incidents start locally and they end locally, so we manage that.
So just like with Irma and the flooding that we had, and we had to open up an additional shelter for Percy Peak or for all the flooding that occurred.
Right.
And so that was done in coordination with Red Cross, as well as the Florida Division of Emergency Management in a small way, and then FEMA. And they brought in their teams for individual assistance, and they actually provided funding for those that were impacted and couldn't go back to their homes or some were in townhomes and they couldn't go back home.
Right.
And they call that a transitional shelter assistant, TSA.
Yes. And so we set those up in the Fenn Center, and so FEMA came in and provided that assistance, and they did it for for a long time.
Oh, it was a long time.
It was a long
Because
time.
they were months in our place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's
a long
correct.
time.
Yes.
So those are the resources that we bring to the table.
Yeah.
So
Gustavo, does the St. Lucie County Division of Emergency Management provide any educational outreach programs to serve the community's need, for information? Are you guys constantly out there? Like you said, I think earlier, you're out there now. During the blue skies, you're out there now preaching, getting ready.
Oh boy, all the requests I've received are immense, but we're happy to do it. That way I get to know a lot more about our residents and our communities. And so we provide outreach talks through PowerPoint presentations. We provide flyers. When we have the disaster preparedness guide already ready for print, we give them out at these events. We also participate in outreach events like the Safety Day, which we held here in April, and we're also going to be present at the Port St. Lucie Hurricane Expo coming up on June 2nd. So we have a little place there, and we will be providing talks there about the Special Needs Registry for the Special Needs Shelter and the Alert St. Lucie. We also participate in commission meetings, so we update our commissioners about not just the hurricane season, but what we're doing to make sure that we're fully prepared for the year. And we continuously are part of specialty committees like the Homeowners Association, Property Owners Association, quarterly meetings with Commissioner Townsend. So Director Parrish always gives a briefing about what we're doing there. And also, like I said, everyone is welcome to come in to go to our website and look at this information.
Okay. And go ahead.
Tom, I just wanted to remind folks that it's important to start these things now. Start your plan now, because if you're trying to upload say 150 gigs onto the cloud the day before the storm, it's not
Everybody else
happening.
is
for
Ain't
you,
gonna
right?
happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
And even if you're trying to put it on a hard drive, right, a terabyte, these things aren't going to happen. If you're trying to get your, plastic buckets or water the day before, it's not happening. So I really encourage people, with all the rain we're having, there should be a time that reminds you, hey, you know what, I'm not going to wait until the day before or a couple days before to get prepared. So
Yep.
and if you're writing a plan, a business plan, a continuity plan, reach out to the Florida SBDC. Let us help you. We can help assess it and help you so you understand things that you're not going to miss. Because often when we're creating things for ourselves, we only see it in our box. So reach out to us. It's a no-cost service at the Florida SBDC at IRSC, and we'll be able to help you with your continuity plans, not just for disaster preparedness, but also in the event of a cyber attack or a fire. So just think about those other options and other avenues.
Well, and I want to, but as we close in here on closing our show, I want to again quickly, Patrice, how does somebody get in touch with the Florida SBDC at IRSC?
Well, you can email fsbdc@irsc.edu or come to our website at www.irscbiz.com.
And what's your phone number, Patrice? How do they get you?
772-336-6285.
All right, beautiful. And Gustavo and Ron, same question for you as we kind of wrap things up. How does somebody get more information? How does somebody get in touch with you?
Well, please go on to our website. That's the first thing I invite everyone. Go on to www.stlucieco.gov, and then you can also call us at 772-462-8100.
And let me ask you real quick, Ron. I mean, a big part of what you do, obviously a big portion of what you do is in regards to the citizens of St. Lucie County. But businesses are a big part of what you do too, and we worked very closely together after Irma with the SBDC and your division too.
Absolutely, and actually this year we brought in our economic council liaison to the table, so they are part of our emergency management team. And that's a pretty comprehensive team. I'm not sure if you've ever been out to our new EOC, but we have somewhere around 100 individuals that come in during an activation, and they have come to the table so we can help them provide the resources needed for the businesses.
Right. Okay. All right. With that, again, lots of information tonight. Again, week from tomorrow is June the 1st, the start of a hurricane, the 2018 hurricane season. I guess if anybody's been watching the news, we may have one early or something in the Gulf of Mexico. We'll see how it progresses over the weekend. What's the latest on that real quick?
Actually, it seems to have slowed a bit, but they're expecting it to probably develop over the next 4 to 5 days to some type of tropical storm, but hopefully it stays well west of us here. I think we're going to see some rain, so please be careful when you're out on the roads, and like we've been saying, have that plan and make sure you have all of the resources you need, from water and medical supplies and medications and food and flashlights and batteries and radios, and so build that kit now.
And we advise our community, do not drive into flooded areas.
Right. Yeah,
Very
good point.
important.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning into another segment of Startup Talk. Thank our guests tonight, Ron Parrish, Gustavo Velchez, and Patrice Koblitz, and remind everyone that all the business assistance programs and resources discussed on this segment are available through IRSC's Dan K. Richardson Entrepreneurship Development Institute, engaged at every stage of enterprise. For more information on the EDI, its programs, and a complete listing of upcoming business training events, visit that irscbiz.com. That's irscbiz.com. As always, want to thank our partners here at WPSL, WSTU, and WPSL TV. And with that, we will talk to you next week on Startup Talk.
Yeah, and once again, you guys will be at the Port St. Lucie Hurricane Expo. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yes.
All right. Hey, we'll definitely see you there. That should be a huge event. It's always an interesting way to kick off the hurricane season. Thanks, guys. You have been listening to Startup Talk right here on WPSL, Port St. Lucie. And don't forget, if you've got Google Home, just say, hey, Google, play WPSL. WPSL on Alexa. WPSL on Echo. Just say, play WPSL on TuneIn. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, WSTU Stewart.